In a political twist no one saw coming, the halls of Westminster shook not from a policy debate or a government vote, but from the sheer force of a verbal demolition that unfolded before a stunned nation. What started as a routine Prime Minister's questions session took a dramatic turn, as Nigel Farage, never one to shy away from the spotlight, tore into Angela Rayner's performance with a scathing, almost surgical critique that left no doubt about who had seized control of the narrative. With Keir Starmer absent, all eyes fell on Rayner, Labour's deputy leader, who stood at the dispatch box, expected to provide clarity, composure and confidence. Instead, viewers and MPs alike witnessed what many now describe as a catastrophic meltdown, one that may mark a pivotal moment not just for Labour's future, but for the entire balance of British politics. From the outset, something felt off. Rayner's responses to core issues, NHS backlogs, the rising wave of illegal immigration, crime surges in urban communities, felt rehearsed but hollow. Her tone wavered, her gaze darted. Even among Labour MPs, there was a silence that felt heavier than words. Her talking points seemed to float in the air without weight, unanchored by any clear plan or policy. Then came the uncomfortable pauses, the blank expressions, and the lack of any pushback against government jabs, while she leaned on familiar slogans about fairness, British values, and standing with working families. Her inability to articulate concrete solutions was becoming painfully obvious by the minute. But the real drama ignited once the cameras followed Nigel Farage outside Parliament. In a fiery statement delivered just moments after the session ended, Farage did what he does best, slice through the political fog with brutal clarity. "This is who Labour sees as a future Prime Minister?" he asked, his voice dripping with disbelief. His attack wasn't wild or personal. It was cold, calculated and ruthlessly effective. He highlighted Rayner's reversals, her dodged questions, her inability to define Labour's position on border control or NHS reform. Within minutes, clips of her stuttering responses exploded across social media, setting off a firestorm of commentary that Labour wasn't ready for. One particularly viral clip showed Rayner fumbling her way through an answer on border security, offering only a generic promise to ensure fairness and balance. The chamber barely reacted, but online, the frustration erupted. Former Labour voters in the north posted scathing comments. One user wrote, "If this is the best Labour has to offer, we're in trouble." Another asked, "Where's the leadership? Where's the vision?" The backlash wasn't limited to Twitter threads or YouTube comments. Even left-leaning media outlets reluctantly acknowledged Farage had outperformed her by miles. Rayner, it seemed, had not just stumbled, she'd unravelled. Farage, seeing his moment, pounced. In a sharp video response released just hours later, he laid out a blistering breakdown of Rayner's PMQs performance. "No answers, no vision, no grasp of the issues," he declared, pointing out that in a time of crisis, Britain couldn't afford vague assurances and recycled rhetoric. "That's not leadership," he said. "That's weakness in a red tie." His words were harsh, but they landed. Political analysts across the board began to ask difficult questions about Labour's bench strength, about whether Rayner could truly be trusted in any future leadership capacity, and whether the party had lost touch with the concerns of ordinary Britons. What made the moment even more damning for Labour was their response, or rather, the lack of one. Party spokespeople hurriedly claimed that Rayner stood up for British families and was clear about Labour's priorities. But the public wasn't buying it. The contrast between Farage's unapologetic clarity and Labour's scripted defences couldn't have been starker. Rayner's weak delivery wasn't just a personal failure. It exposed deep fractures within the party's messaging, leadership structure and public appeal. As pressure mounts, some insiders are whispering that Rayner should step back, or that Starmer needs to immediately reassert control before Labour's credibility collapses even further. And while Labour scrambled to spin the story, Farage was already moving forward, branding himself not just as a critic, but as a viable alternative. He spoke plainly about the NHS's collapsing infrastructure, about immigration policies that confuse more than they protect, and about crime statistics that continue to rise while politicians offer empty reassurances. "Ask them a straight question," Farage said in one now widely shared clip, "and they vanish into vague answers." That one line summed up the entire PMQs exchange and struck a chord with a public tired of spin and desperate for direction. The incident has already had measurable effects. Online polls saw a noticeable bump for Reform UK, particularly in areas where Labour traditionally held strong support. While it's too early to call it a realignment, political experts are now openly discussing the possibility that Farage's movement could disrupt the next general election in a meaningful way. More importantly, ordinary voters are beginning to see Farage not just as a disruptor, but as someone willing to challenge both major parties with straight talk and real issues. In a political age where authenticity often matters more than polish, Farage's rough edges might be working to his advantage. As for Labour, the damage may extend beyond Rayner's image. Her shaky performance has reignited leadership debates and exposed the party's lack of cohesion when it comes to policy and message. The question isn't just whether Rayner can survive the backlash, it's whether Labour can rebuild trust before it slips into irrelevance. Farage has been dismissed before, called a fringe voice, a protest candidate. But moments like this are what shift public perception. He's no longer outside the system shouting in. Now it feels like he's inside, pulling levers and driving the conversation. What unfolded at PMQs wasn't just another rough session, it felt like a political reckoning. Rayner's failure wasn't a blip. It was a spotlight on deeper issues within Labour's leadership and a sign that the party may be out of touch with the current mood of the nation. Meanwhile, Farage's message, however divisive, resonates more each day with voters who feel ignored, frustrated, and betrayed by both sides of the aisle. Unless Labour regains its footing quickly and offers a compelling, specific, and authentic message, Farage's rise could turn from a warning shot into a full-blown political revolution.